put a heavy emphasis on creativity and individuality, and that's encouraged, right? It's encouraged. It's not just accepted, right? There's a big difference between something that's encouraged and something that's accepted. Well, welcome back to the Culture Base podcast. I'm Dustin. He's Blake. We're the Culture Base, and we're here to help leaders know what they're about, show where they're going, and help them develop scalable teams to get them there. It is the end of August, and I feel like, Blake, just a quick little banter here at the top. I feel like the end of August feels like the end of a quarter to me.
I think it's because it's such a seasonal starter to change.
Yeah.
Right. Like even, I don't know in Atlanta if it's been this way, but here in Indy, it has gotten cold.
Yeah. It was 61 degrees just an hour ago when my wife and I were out doing our morning walk.
52 here.
Yeah, I saw that. It's insane.
Crazy. So it's like, I wonder if there's some of that. I used to think growing up that August was fall. And I told my wife, I want to get married in the fall. And then I was like, how about August? And she's like, are you dumb? Like that is like the heat, the hottest point. And I was like, no, because in elementary school, I remember when it said August on the banner and they had leaves falling. She's like, you don't remember that.
Oh my gosh. I love Are You Dumb?
Are you dumb?
Great question to ask at the beginning of every meeting. For those listening to this, trying to steer their culture in the right direction.
Oh, shoot.
That's fantastic. At least a little inside glimpses to the home life culture for Blake. Thank you for watching and listening. I want to remind you, if you're watching on any audio podcast platform, you can subscribe there. We'd love for you to leave a rating or review on whatever platform you're watching, listening on. If you're watching on YouTube, we're so glad that you're here as well. Go ahead and hit the thumbs up. Smash it, some people say. The thumbs up, which is called a like button. Subscribe, ring the bell. You can find us on Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn at The Culture Base, BASE, or you can find us online at theculturebase.com. Lastly, before we get into the chat, which I want to get to very quickly because it's a good one, I want to remind you that our first ever ebook is now available. The Scalability Playbook, you can get your free copy at theculturebase.com/resources. All right, so today we're going to kind of do a highlight episode, not highlights from our highlights, but highlights from other companies that are getting it right. So today's episode is called They're Doing It Right. And the problem here, Blake, that we're addressing is that in any area of life, people, organizations, whether it's health and fitness, mental toughness, education, spiritual direction, whatever it is, we all need, whether we're willing to admit it or not, depending on how narcissist you are, we all need others to look up to. We all need mentors. We all need kind of to go, okay, that's where I want to be. And so I'm going to learn from them, and I'm going to start heading in that direction. And it's really no different when it comes to company culture. So we thought today that we would just share with you a few companies that we've noticed that are doing it right. But before we begin, there's a couple of caveats we want to throw out there. First things first, none of these companies are perfect. None of these companies are perfect. Blake likes to say that wisdom gleans inspiration. So we're going to learn from them, and we're going to be inspired by what they're doing and the good things, but not necessarily going to be copycats. You're still you. You're still your own company.
Yeah. And, it's funny. Everyone's probably heard that phrase, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? Nobody's perfect. And so part of this process is figuring out what is worth gleaning. And I actually had a drink last night with a good buddy of Dustin's, Aaron Cooper with 1898 Production, shout out. But it was funny. We were talking about C.S. Lewis, And I said, one of my favorite things about C.S. Lewis is how much anytime I feel like someone talks about him from the pulpit, they always apologize first. They're like, hey, we don't believe everything that C.S. I was like, I love that about that guy, is that everyone always has to apologize for him, but he doesn't give a rat's ass. Like, that's my favorite thing about him. And I think the reality is the idea of perfection is completely subjective. Preference says what a good culture is. So somebody who comes from one of the cultures that we talk about today would not like another culture, and it's all preferential based. So we're not only saying that, there are some definite, like, maybe moral issues that will occasionally happen, but there are just like right fit issues too here. So I think we get so caught in being perfect sometime that we miss out on being good. And so that's what we want to glean here, is we want to grab from all of these things for different reasons of why they're top of their class or in the discussion for why we're gleaning this.
Yeah, and a couple other quick things too before we get into it. You don't have to be a household name. Every name we mentioned today is going to be a household name that everyone has heard of before at some point in their lives. You don't have to wait to have as great of a culture as these companies do until you're a household name. The reason that we're using them today is because they're household names and because it's easy for you to go learn about what's making them better, rather than it might be like, to use example, Blake's company, Ridgeline. Like, it'd be harder for you to find out and learn about them than it would be these huge, like, publicly traded companies right now, just in terms of quick access. You can obviously call Blake anytime you want. His number is 555. I'm just kidding.
It was ballsy, man.
Last one, clarity and values drive culture in these companies, and we want you to kind of listen to these things as we roll through this list. And I want to say this too. Last episode we wrapped under 20 minutes, and we like it. We're going to try that for a while, and if you like it, let us know. If you hate it, let us know. If you're like, no, I need more than 20, let us know. I'm willing to adjust. But we felt like it was nice and tight, and it got you the same information quicker. So we're going to try that again today, which means we've got about 13 more minutes left in this thing before we really need to be done. So let's get onto this list. The first one, obvious. I mean, like I said, all of these are ones that are household names, but this first one is probably at the top of household names. Right? It's a verb, right? It's Google. Yeah, when your company is a verb, like, you've arrived. So Google is known for their employee-centric culture that fosters innovation, collaboration, a strong sense of community. That's their focus, and you're going to see a lot of this kind of familiarity on this list. Their focus is as much on their employees or their team as it is on their customer. And I feel like companies that struggle in the culture area are a little bit too squeezed in one direction or the other. And so what we can learn from Google is there's a balance, and that should be pretty equal from them as to, because they're still innovating. They're still thinking about the customer. They're still thinking about the end user, but they're equally thinking about what it's like to work at Google. That's just it. They're just asking themselves the question regularly, what's it like to work here? And answering that question gives them this constant state of, okay, what's it like to use Google? That's the user. And what's it like to work here? Those are the questions they're asking, and why they're known for that. So that's Google.
Yep. The next one is Salesforce. So Salesforce is like renowned for its focus on equality, diversity, and on social responsibility, which is also interesting because I've written extensively when it comes to Gen Zs and millennials, and they are renowned for a focus on equality, diversity, and social responsibility. Very interesting. I wonder why. So anyway, the company, it completely promotes a culture of trust. They focus on customer success, on innovation. And one of the big parts, so if social responsibility being at the end of that like focus, they really focus on this giving back model where and they call it the 1-1-1 model. okay, which donates 1% of equity, 1% of its product, and 1% of its employees' time to charitable causes. Okay. And you might be like, oh, it's only 1%. Okay. First off, that's 3%, right? And that focus and innovation, it's that giving that up to something else is really big, because that 1%
3% of $1 billion is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. Right. Exactly. Okay. And it's like 3 something, and it's a lot. But I was in a board meeting yesterday for something else, and Salesforce came up, and someone was like, it's too expensive. And someone goes, not for nonprofits. And it was a nonprofit board we were on. So it was like, I didn't even know that, but it's starting, like, a lot of people do know, hey, no, for nonprofits, we can step in and we can be there, which hits their 1-1-1 model. So not only are we talking about this here, but I'm seeing it happen out in, normal world.
Yeah. The next one we want to talk about is Zappos. Zappos, very similar to Google, kind of extends the focus. They kind of say they deliver on wow moments, right? So like when I remember when Zappos hit and it kind of blew up, and people were like, before I could ask, where did you get that from? Or where did you get those shoes from? They're like, oh, Zappa. They would just volunteer it. We weren't even talking about it. We were talking about what we did this weekend, and all of a sudden they're telling me about Zappos. It's because they're committed to making, or to delivering wow customer service. Mm-hmm. And when you deliver a wow customer service, people talk about it without being prompted. Mm-hmm. And they extend that wow service not just to its customers, but to its employees as well. They put a heavy emphasis on creativity and individuality, and that's encouraged, right? It's encouraged. It's not just accepted, right? There's a big difference between something that's encouraged and something that's accepted. And we've talked about failure a lot on here, right? And we talked about kind of making bold strategies and bold moves. You can encourage those, or you can accept those. One of those will create the culture, and one of them will let a culture happen wherever it may land. So that's what Zappos is doing. Very similar to Google, but a little bit more on the experience side of things.
Yeah. The next one is, I don't know if you've heard of them, Blockbuster. No, I'm just kidding. It's Netflix.
That's me. I'm sure they were great.
Well, Blockbuster had the opportunity to buy Netflix, I think, for some very little millions amount of dollars.
They did.
I don't even know if it was $1 million. I can't remember exactly, but
it was
they passed on it. And Netflix is what it is today. And what's so cool about that, even that inception story around the freedom and responsibility, is if Netflix would have gone underneath that, I don't think we would see what we see today, because the culture that Netflix has created is all about its freedom and responsibility culture. Okay. So the company, Netflix, trusts its employees to make decisions with minimal oversight, right? They are just saying, we believe you're going to do the right thing. We'll be there for coaching, but we just believe that we hired you for a reason. Okay. So I'm sure their hiring process of finding the right people is big, but minimal oversight. They encourage them to take risks and learn from their failures. So they encourage that trial and error mentality. They're also a values transparency, open communication, no rule approach to vacation and expense policies. They trust their employees in the best, in the company's best interest. So they say, the employee, we believe you're going to have the company's best interest. And here's what I love about this. We create so many policies and rules and regulations for the bad players. We do it because of bad behavior. We create all these things. Get rid of the bad behavior. Just if someone is not the team, and you want to have a team that truly believes in autonomy, then the people who can't have autonomy shouldn't be there. That's not there. They don't fit the culture. But we often ruin the culture because of bad behavior, instead of getting rid of the bad behavior and allowing the culture to continually be like Netflix's freedom and responsibility culture.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Next one is HubSpot, which if you're not in the customer service world at all. You may not know them as much, but I still feel like you've probably received an email where at the bottom it says powered by HubSpot. They're a CRM service. They are kind of the Google of CRM. It's one of those things right now where I was researching CRMs recently, and everybody that I asked, they're like, well, HubSpot's the industry leader. And I'm like, well, okay, well, what's the big deal about HubSpot? And I got in there, and let me tell you, it is mega robust. My only like criticism of HubSpot on the outside looking in as a user is it's extremely complicated for me to use. I can't learn it quickly. I feel like I have to watch lots and lots of videos to learn how to really use it. I even brought in a coach to help me figure it out, and I still don't really understand it. But their culture emphasizes autonomy, transparency, and a no door policy. But even further than that, those are some really great things. I want to lean in here just for a second on HubSpot's learning and development. Like we talk a lot about growth and development as being a big part of a scalable team and a big part of a healthy team culture. HubSpot is doing that and putting an emphasis on that as kind of their cornerstone for their culture. They're like, hey, you can bring your whole self here, and we're not just going to grow and develop you in the ways that benefit HubSpot directly, but we're going to help you grow and develop in ways that may benefit us indirectly, or maybe not at all. At the end of the day, we're investing in you as a team member, and part of that investment is opportunities to learn and grow. And they give time off, and they give resources to their team members to be able to grow in the areas that they need to grow in.
Awesome. Next one is Patagonia. I love Patagonia. Really hope someday I have something from Patagonia. They are. They are. I'm just kidding. I'm so dumb.
Do you say Patagonia? I've always say Patagonia.
That's probably right. I just, again, like, why am I dumb? So,
hey, sorry.
Patagonia.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Why are you
so, Patagonia, they're always to me giving cozy and like just adventure and fall and being outside. Like I always wondered why there's like vests and like it feels way more long sleeve than anything, but it's because you're like living in the elements is the idea. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I love that when I think of it, it goes that way. I didn't wear my vest for it, because it's today and we're talking about Patagonia. I'll just say it really quick so I don't sound stupid. But they're
Virginia. That's why I grew up in Virginia. So for me, it's just like, oh, it's Virginia, it's Patagonia.
Yeah,
it might not be. It might be. I might be the dumb one here. I don't know.
It's not likely. It is not likely.
I calls it like I sees it. I don't know.
But they're recognized for their absolute commitment, obviously, to the environment. So environmental sustainability is huge to them, which also ties in very closely with social responsibility, another huge millennial Gen Z focus. Mm-hmm. But it deeply permeates its company culture. So employees are encouraged to take part in that environmental activism, making sure that we keep our environment the way it is so that we can enjoy it, right? Like they're creating opportunity, clothing, equipment for the idea of being able to enjoy what we've been given, essentially. Yeah. And so, of course, the idea of protecting that. And then the company offers really unique benefits when it comes to paid time off for volunteering, financial support for any environmental policies or projects that are going on. They also have this work-life balance. You can't just work in an office all day and not enjoy. And so they have good policies around that. They have good policies around on-site childcare so that you can have more flexible work environments, which again, think of the environment. Every environment you walk into, you've got to be flexible to it in some capacity.
I love it. I'm going to skip down a few just because we're getting short on time and go to the one that a lot of people talk about when they talk about culture these days. It's Southwest Airlines. I'm a Southwest guy, mostly because I can't afford to fly like other ones. And their really cheap, but not like held together by duct tape like other yellow planes flying, dangling in the sky.
How dare you?
But Southwest is focused. They've decided to put their culture focus on employee satisfaction, teamwork, and fun. They promote a family atmosphere. And let me just say this: if you've ever flown on at least one or two Southwest flights, you get this. You feel it. Mm-hmm. Because when they're up front going through the motions that they have to go through about the safety protocols and doing these hand motions about where the exit rows are and all these different things, they're having fun with it. They're throwing in things. They offer free drinks to people on the company's anniversary. Like if you fly on Southwest, which I think is in June, if you fly on Southwest during the company's anniversary, you get a free drink. Halloween, different New Year's Day, stuff like that. Like you get free drinks, and it's the hey, come be with us. Mm-hmm. It's not a separation of their customer between team and customer. It's like we're all in this bubble together, flying at 30,000 feet or whatever. Like it's a togetherness. It's a family. Yeah. And so that's what they promote. Obviously, they have benefits like travel benefits and profit sharing, but it's really the fact that they've focused in on making sure their team members are satisfied, focusing in on teamwork and having fun with it, right? Like if you ever sat on the plane and you saw the snack truck pull up, you're just like little quirky sayings on the snack trucks and the napkins and things. Yeah. All these little touches that, yes, they're for the customer, but it also is a glimpse inside to their strong team culture that they have, the family culture.
And they believed that the reason that they would do that is that customers would be happier. Right. Yeah. Like if the team was happier, the customers would be happier. Yep. And they found out that turning around an airplane was super important. As far as like, hey, let's get this turned around so that we're off flying again. And so their business model for over 50 years has been seating is not assigned. Right. And I know I'm going down another path here, but I think it's interesting. Right now, they've changed that to assigned seats.
They've announced that it's coming. Yeah.
Yep. So they're changing that model. However, their whole purpose, they said, is they listened to customers. They found out what was important to them. And they're saying, we've got to still be able to hit these values and these things. So we want this culture, like, because to me, immediately, I was like, this is countercultural. But when I understood their why behind it and that their team would be happier as well in the process, because it doesn't always go smoothly when you don't have assigned seats and it adds some chaotic aspects to it. I just got to give a big shout out there because it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So we're going to wrap there just based on time. Like I said, we're trying to get you this stuff quickly, but check out these companies. There's a lot of other companies that are doing it well. These are just ones like, hey, I don't even know where to start, to look up to learn from. Dig into these companies that we mentioned today and many, many others like them. Some ones that we didn't get a chance to talk about, LinkedIn, Adobe. These are also companies that are doing great things. So check those people out, learn from them. Again, not perfect. You don't need to be large. You don't need to be a household name to learn from these companies, but you can learn from them. So next time we're going to be back talking about the best. Let's don't know. What is it? Oh, is this really it? Own your mistakes? Oh no, I think it's something else. Mm-hmm. I think it's the best annual review ever. That's what we're done. So we love the best ever stuff. We're going to get into that next time with the best annual review ever. We'll talk to you then on the Culture Base podcast.